Hi, welcome to the Crochet Authority podcast, the best and maybe smallest corner of the internet, where three incredibly talented and beautiful women claim to know everything there is to know about fiber arts.
We are Morgan,
Anna,
And Savannah.
three crocheters turned BFFs who consistently have too much to say.
consider this a glimpse into not only our conversations, but our overflowing and powerful minds. From our group chat to your ears, welcome to the pod.
Hey!
You
How are you guys?
open Spotify and the first thing you hear, welcome back, everyone. What is this, episode 6?
Yeah, that's a lot of episodes, honestly.
We've been doing this for, we just put out 5.
No.
Oh, no, this is 5.
This is 5.
No, did we not just put out 5?
Literally the title of the episode outline is episode 5. Anyways.
What if I just wanted to skip 5? Guys! Okay, episode
Somebody
5.
doesn't care enough.
I don't.
Oh my
I
God.
obviously don't. Okay, well, welcome back to episode 5. Still shocking how far we've gotten. But we have an exciting episode today. But before we get into that, how are you guys doing? What have you been working on? The whole shebang. Anything fun going on in your lives?
I moved.
Oh, yeah.
How was that?
We haven't talked about that, like, at all. Oh, my Lord.
New background check.
New background.
Woo!
Don't have a desk, so I'm sitting on my bed.
Real. Me too.
Same.
So waiting for that. IKEA.
Bed podcast.
Girls in bed.
I would like my desk.
Actually, hey, never mind.
Let's, moving on. Moving on.
Yeah, it was beyond exhausting, but
But you made it.
whatever.
That's the important part.
It is.
I have somewhere to live.
Yay!
So that's what I've been working on.
Fun. How about you, Savannah?
Nothing too thrilled. Well, it's actually been, again, one of the busiest weeks of my entire life, for no good reason. Again, nothing super interesting. There's just a lot going on with school and everything. I forget that school is actually, like, part of my life, and it's not just crochet. Can you imagine?
That's shocking.
I know. So I actually have, like, events and classes to go to. Very annoying. I've been working on a rug for my room because I'm staring at a huge, like, not huge, I'm not that rich, a very large, like, blank space on the floor. Very excited for 1989 Taylor's version as well. Yeah. What about you, Anna?
Nothing much. Still working on the Winona Polo. Making my way along. Just got a mattress topper. Feeling so comfy.
Well,
Went to see the ballet last night with my mom. We saw Cinderella. It was really
Love.
pretty. But yeah, just same old, same old. You know,
yeah,
Yeah.
that's fun.
it was very fun.
Yeah. So, if we got nothing else to share about our thrilling lives, this is the Hot Takes episode. I'm so excited. We asked, you listened, and shared your opinions. And we have a whole host of opinions to share on your opinions.
And ours
We
are
have just correct.
the correct
Always.
ones. Always correct. Yes.
Always.
Yes. So just blanket statement before we begin.
Yeah, just to let you guys know. So we have a whole list to get through, and I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's a
for
very,
it.
very long, good list.
It is. It really is. I honestly haven't seen a lot of these hot takes before,
Same.
so I'm very impressed that people always have new opinions, which, I mean, I don't know why, because I do too.
Me.
Anyways, number 1, mohair is not needed for every sweater you make.
I agree.
I agree.
Fully agreed. I don't really know what that's like. I know mohair has become more popular kind
Yeah.
of within the past couple months
Yeah.
or a year or whatever, but I think it definitely adds something, but it's
Yeah.
so expensive whenever I see someone using it. I'm like, oh, or they make like a fully mohair sweater. I'm like, oh.
I think mohair is like a really great tool to, like, I have a bunch of acrylic yarn, and sometimes I want like a different texture, or I want it to like just have maybe like a different vibe to the garment, if that makes sense. So I think it's a really great way to dress up a more affordable yarn if you have the money to get mohair, but obviously that's expensive, so sometimes you can't. But I don't think you need it for every single sweater, and I think that there are other yarns that have really beautiful texture if you wanted to achieve a textured make. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I like it every once in a while. It's also like, sometimes it can be annoying to work with.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So it's like, I don't want to use it for every project. And if you have to frog anything, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
But
It's so thin, right? I've never... I have some, but I've never used it.
yeah, I
We
have quite a bit. But special occasion.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I agree.
Next.
I agree with the hot take.
Circular
Yes,
needles. Agreed. Circular needles are better than straight needles. I agree.
100%.
I'm like 50-50. I think I agree, but I do occasionally. I think I learned on circular needles when I was knitting. So I think that's just what I'm most comfortable with, and I think it's easiest to use because it's most adaptable. Like, you will at some point, if you're making like a sweater, which is what I do a lot in knitting, you will need to work in the round at some point to at least do the collar. You know what I mean? Or the neckline. At least for the patterns I've read. Maybe that's not the same for every pattern. But, so I think circular needles are more helpful because you don't need to, like, have your straight needles and then circular needles in, like, the same size or whatever. You know what I mean? It's less moving around. But
They're versatile.
Yes. I do occasionally like straight needles because I find that sometimes working a flat panel on straight needles can be easier. But using the circulars is not that much. It's not so much of a difference that I'm, like, angry about it. You know, I'm not, like, really frustrated that I'm having to use them.
I only use circulars.
Yeah.
Same.
I think that's
common. I think they're better. In my opinion. Because you can do straight and you can do in the round, and they're just easier to control because you're not fighting with like a long stick.
Yeah. It is really uncomfortable to use. Like, it took me a second to learn how to, like, place my hands and the needles when I was working with straight needles. Sometimes, I won't lie, sometimes I like using them because it makes me feel more like I'm knitting.
Yeah. I love the aesthetic of them. I was going to say
Yes,
that. Like, that's the thing.
I feel so grandma.
But I love my interchangeable circular needle set. That is the greatest invention on earth, being able to change out, like, the knitting needle size. It's
the best money I've ever spent.
Yes, genuinely, I agree.
Is that Chow Goose set.
Yes. It's so worth it. I think it's just more, like, economically feasible to, like, put one, like, it's a larger amount of money into, like, one thing. Yeah. But it's like you have, all of a sudden, 10 really great pairs of knitting needles. And, like, it's so easy to switch it out. Yeah. So, I'll agree that circular needles are better than straight needles, but I do enjoy straight needles sometimes.
That's fair. Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
Amazing. I also agree. Okay, the next one. No pattern, especially for a simple piece, should cost more than $12. I shouldn't have to pay $18 for a cardigan pattern that I can find for free. I have a bit of a nuanced opinion. I agree with this person. I agree that patterns should be priced according to their complexity. Like, if it's more complex, I think you should be allowed to charge more because you had to do more to make the pattern, to write it, size grade it, or write the made to measure pattern, whatever. But with that being said, I think there is in some ways an asterisk, because if there's, like, supply and demand and you, like, put it out quicker, I think you're allowed to charge a little bit more. Or especially the part where it's like for a pattern I can find for free. I do think that, like, the $18 for a simple, that is its own thing that I agree with, for sure, sure. But in terms of, like, the if I can find it for free, why am I gonna pay for it? Let's just say that, no matter the price.
Then
I think then you, not this person, but in general, I think
Yeah.
you don't really have room to complain if you're paying for a pattern that you can find for free. Because if you can find it for free, then just search for
Then
it.
find the free pattern.
So
Yeah.
that opinion's like a little bit off of what that person said as like their hot take. But I was just thinking about it as I was like writing it down and reading it before. And I just wanted to mention it, that even if a simple pattern is a little bit more expensive, do I think it should be marked down in price? Yeah. But also, if people are going to buy it because they're too lazy to look for another option or for a free version, that's not really on the artist.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I agree with the person. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah. I mean, you're completely correct.
I just like
I just,
immediately had thoughts.
Yeah, I see people like selling cardigan patterns for $15. And of course, I would love to sell my own patterns for that much. But I just don't think anyone would buy them. So if people are buying them,
Like,
what do I care?
my
You know?
Yeah.
my most expensive one is like $13.75 or something like that, and that's on Etsy because Etsy takes fees
Yeah.
and a ridiculous amount of tax. Like they charge tax on the fees that they take,
Like, their fees have fees.
and then I have to pay like tax to the Canadian government. Like I have to pay, so it's like incorporated in the price. It's a whole thing.
Yeah,
but that's
Yeah.
in Canadian dollars, which is like $9 American or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Or
I feel
10.
like most people know this, but like if you don't look on Etsy as your first place for patterns, because 9 times out of 10 designers will up the prices on there. Like
Yeah, mine are
my
more expensive on Etsy.
my Isabel cardigan is my most expensive pattern. I think it's $10, and it might be like 14 or 15 on Etsy because of the fees alone. Like the fees will take $5 worth of whatever price I put it up as.
They will.
So, like I said, you guys probably already know that, like the people listening, crochet and knit and
Yeah.
whatever. But
Yeah.
Etsy just it's just so expensive for no reason. Because, well,
That's
the reason.
what- I was gonna say, I was looking at my finances from last year versus this year just on Etsy, because they changed their fees over the last year. And in 1 month last year, I made like $500 in patterns, which was super exciting. And they took like, I think it was $30 or $40, which is still a lot. Like that's a week of groceries. Like I was
Yeah.
like, okay. Then I was looking at one of the months this year where I made $500, and they took like, I don't know, it was like 70 or 80. It was literally double the amount.
So
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it really is. Similar to what you were saying, my Oopsie Daisy purse probably sells the most on Etsy, and I have it marked up to $8 because after someone purchases it and the fees are taken out, it literally equals for me what I'm receiving $5, which is how much I have it on other platforms, which is just so ridiculous. So, I guess going back to the hot take, I agree with this person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't charge a lot for patterns.
Yeah,
If they're
just-
simple.
Yeah.
Be
But
logical.
also, you can do what you want.
Yeah,
that's
it's
true.
not.
And people can
Etsy
choose to buy
is-
it or not.
True.
Yeah. Etsy makes everything worse for everybody, so don't hate the player,
Yeah,
hate the game.
that's so true.
Anyways, next hot take. I've seen this a lot, honestly. I don't know how hot it is. That I like weaving, not me. This person is saying, I like weaving in ends. It's repetitive and makes me feel accomplished.
Okay. Here's my opinion. It's different if you're crocheting or knitting. Weaving in ends on crochet feels like the end of the world, to me personally.
Yes.
It's awful and I hate it. Weaving in ends on knitting, especially like stockinette, is... Can you hear the sirens?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're coming for you
Hold for
because
sirens.
because of the weaving in ends.
Weaving in ends on knitting, especially stockinette, I think is a lot easier, and it is not bad. Like, I don't hate it. Do I love it? No. Do I hate it? Like, I don't dread it, because it's, I don't know, it's just something about it is a lot easier.
Yeah,
So, that's my opinion.
that makes sense.
The exact reverse opinion. I know. I like whenever I'm making a huge piece like a blanket or something, it is so satisfying to weave in the ends in crochet. I guess I also just don't knit as much, so I think I haven't gotten like a rhythm down with how you're like supposed to
Yeah.
weave them in, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So every time I'm like, oh my God, like I don't even know where to start. Like this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Which I was gonna mention this at the end. I'm still working on that raglan sweater and I still haven't split the yoke because
You
I
gotta.
am too scared of it. I gotta, but I don't know. But
Well,
I'm making it so I don't have to weave in any ends.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of in the middle on weaving in ends. I honestly prefer to do it because it makes me feel like I've kind of like put the bow on top of what I was working on, if that makes sense. But I've hyped it up to be the worst thing ever in my head to the point that like I can't do it. So like I have so many unwoven ends on most of my projects. So I am kind of in the middle. This is slightly off from that, but I hate sewing panels together in crochet. I love sewing my knitted panels together if I'm
Same.
making a sweater or
Same.
something. So that makes me feel accomplished. And a lot of people don't like seaming things together. I know there's a huge demand for like no seam projects. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind seaming
I think it's
on
kind of
either,
fun.
honestly.
Yeah. It's more satisfying in knitting like a mattress stitch.
Yeah.
I love it. So, I don't know, I'm kind of in the middle on weaving in ends, but I respect this person's hot take. I understand where
Yeah.
they're coming from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Magic circles aren't hard.
I agree.
I know how to do it, so I don't think it's hard.
It was,
But
Yeah.
it was like the
It's totally
second
not
thing. It was like the second thing I learned to do when I learned to crochet. And was that a good idea? No. No, it wasn't. I cried a lot.
Real.
But
Real.
like, if I could get it, having like I didn't know how to, we've covered this. I didn't know how to search how to read pattern. You know,
right.
if I could figure it out, I guarantee other people can. Savannah,
Yeah.
thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you make
That's
so many
crazy.
granny squares. You don't
That's-
use magic circles?
Chain 4 and slip stitch into the first chain. Thank you very much. Because the magic circle will pop open. That's happened to people.
Yes.
Like,
If
from
you
the
don't
pressure you put
secure
on
your
it?
ends properly, yeah.
Here's the thing. I do agree. It can pop open. When I made the solar flares, I used the magic circle, and I should have done the like chain 4 and slip stitch together because there are certain situations where you need the structure of it. But I don't think that like Morgan said, if you weave in your ends properly and you secure it properly, it should be fine in most situations. I also just don't. If I can avoid it, I don't want like the hole in the center that you get when you do the chain and slip stitch.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair. Yeah.
But I do know what you're
That's
saying.
what I just. Yeah. It happens.
It
People,
does.
I literally get messages on Etsy like, hey, I made this with a magic circle. What should I do? Like, it popped open. I'm like, I didn't tell you to. Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah. Well, some
need to
because
put a
people
note
will
in the
just like
pattern.
cut their ends and not weave them in at all,
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
which is bad.
yeah. Don't do that.
What?
Don't do that.
But I don't think they're hard.
I don't think they're hard.
But like I've tried to teach people, and it's like it's just hard for some people to comprehend,
Yeah.
which is fair.
Yeah,
It's a little
like, really
funky.
stupid people.
Certainly not you.
Certainly not me.
Not you, crochet god.
Miss Book.
Writes a book and doesn't know how to do the magic circle. I'm literally gonna expose you.
I can do it if I watch a tutorial. I just don't have it memorized or anything, and I prefer not to. Okay, respect my wishes.
Okay.
Alright, super weird, but that's fine. Alright. Okay, next one. Acrylic yarn is better than wool. I don't think any fiber is better than another.
No.
No, but if we're talking about like, I don't know, I like the drape of wool a lot better than acrylic. So if
Yeah.
we're talking like
Yeah.
when choosing one for a project like a sweater or something, and like price isn't a factor, things like that aren't a factor, then I'm wool 100%.
Yeah, I think it just depends.
Yeah, I also
Depends
think
on
it
the
depends.
Project and the yarn.
Yeah.
Because some
Yeah.
acrylics really are not bad.
Yeah.
Some are quite
But I
nice.
have been preferring natural fibers recently now that I have like access to ones that are at a better price.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a good hot take, but
It is a good hot take.
I don't think there's one that's like better than the other,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
That's very fair.
I was gonna say, I think it really depends on the artist and what you're making. Because, like, also, like, location does matter. Because near me, I literally have, like, the only little yarn shop I have near me, I went once, and all the old ladies were, like glaring at me. Because, you know, they're like, what could you possibly know?
Yeah.
A fair amount. Not a lot, but, like, a good amount. So I don't go there because I don't feel welcome. But their yarn is also very expensive for a good reason. That's totally fine. But for me, if I'm going in person, I'm going to Michael's or Joanne. Yeah. And there aren't... They have natural fiber options. They just don't have a lot. And the ones that they have don't really interest me. So I think acrylic... can be better because it could be more accessible, but I don't think any one fiber is inherently better than another.
Agreed.
Very fair. Our next hot take is a hot take, and I can yell about it if we want. They say, I don't make gauge swatches ever.
I too was a gauge swatch hater once.
Yeah.
And I don't like doing it.
And I still don't like doing it. But if you don't do it, it's gonna come out wrong most of the time. And here's the thing. If you don't ever want to gauge swatch and you respectfully keep that to yourself, that's fine. Literally do whatever you want. I have issue, and not this person necessarily, but I have issue when people are like, I absolutely hate gauge swatching, I'm never going to gauge swatch, and then it's your fault as the pattern designer for their project not coming out right. Or for their project, even if it's not something you design, not coming out right. That's not on me. You made the choice. I told you how to achieve the look that you want and to make sure it comes out the way that you want. And you chose to ignore that. That's why I have such an issue with that.
I get so many messages from people about the flower alls and solar flares just because the other patterns haven't had time to give me a lot of questions about them yet, which I'm nervous to see what the typical questions are going to be. But I get so many people who are like, my squares are like 3 inches by 3 inches. What do I do?
Use a different hook.
Yeah, I say in the pattern, if your gauge swatch is too small, like, do this. If your gauge swatch is too big, do... Like, what do you want me to completely reconfigure the pattern for you? And sometimes I do. I feel so bad because they're like, I literally can't make it any bigger. And I'm like, I know you're lying, but I just want to get you off my back, and I don't want you to leave a bad review.
Also,
so I'm going to tell you.
That's super funky because you have in your patterns, I know for the solar flares especially, instructions on how to do basically like... Is solar flare entirely made to measure?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have... I know flower alls is different, but you still have a lot of measurements in there. Like, I saw the heart alls pattern, I read it. But solar flares especially, you could hypothetically do anything, and as long as it matches up to the measurements that... Hey guys, just read the pattern. Hey, please. Hey.
I genuinely, half of my... Not over half, 3/4 of my Etsy messages would never exist if people actually just read the pattern before they messaged me. People just want a quick solution, and for some reason it's quicker to message me and wait hours for a response rather than read the pattern. You can word search for what you're doing. You know? Like, you can Control F, at least for me.
Also,
it makes me so mad.
Like, every pattern I've ever read and every pattern I've ever written, every single word in there is intentional. I don't include fluff. I don't include stuff that, like, I don't want you to read, that I don't expect you to read. Like, I'm sorry.
We're not trying to reach a word count.
Like, no. Like, I was confused on something in the Winona polo that I'm testing. Instead of messaging the designer, Emily, I was like, it's probably indicated somewhere in this pattern. So I read the intro to the pattern, and she explains, like, how it's constructed, and I was better able to visualize what was going on. And so then I was like, awesome. I can now move on because I've just looked at the thing that I already have in front of me instead of waiting 12 hours for the designer to respond. It's right there.
Cheers.
Listen, sometimes maybe it's not there,
Sometimes it's not.
but
Yeah.
more often than not.
Yes. There are some questions that are genuinely valid, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
More often than not, the answer is in the pattern.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyways,
Yes,
cage
yes.
swatches. I make them. And sometimes they still don't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly,
But-
I will admit, I don't want to say half the time, but like I would say maybe 1/3 of the time. I don't know why my gauge swatches just never actually end up helping me, but I know it'd be worse if I didn't do it, so I've just gotten in the habit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair.
They got
Yeah.
so off just our grievances about people reading patterns. Sorry,
Tangents.
everyone.
It's okay. It's okay. Next is micro crochet isn't worth it.
Like, what do you mean by that?
Like
the effort
you know-
and the time.
yeah, like the really tiny things that they take a while because they're so small.
Yeah, it's worth it to them. I wouldn't do it. It
I
wouldn't be
wouldn't
worth it to me.
take the
But it's
time.
cool for them.
It looks really painful
Yeah.
Yeah.
and also difficult. You guys have seen
Yes.
the person crocheting granny squares that are this big to make a blanket.
Yes.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say that. Like personally,
I just
I
don't
would
have
never
the
do it.
patience.
Yeah, I don't have the patience, and it's I don't think it's something that would bring me joy.
No.
I try to look at it like, does it bring me joy? Yes or no? And that's like if I would do it. But if it brings someone else joy, I'm like so happy for them. I will
Yeah.
consistently watch the updates of that person making the micro crochet
Yeah.
granny square blanket. I will absolutely
Yeah.
always watch that. You
Yeah.
wouldn't catch me doing it. I don't think it would make me very happy to do. I think I'd be like
Yeah.
really annoyed.
No. I would do one
Someone that
and
just
then
to
I'm
say I
done.
did it. Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
So I think
Okay.
it could be worth it. Not for me.
If it's
Yeah.
a designer that likes doing that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's most things,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know. Okay, this next one, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Hope, what is it? Macaulay? Macaulay? Girl,
Macaulay.
if there's one thing I don't know how to do, if there's one thing you guys should know about
Read.
me, I don't know how to sound out words. It
Read.
doesn't compute in my head. It's not even like I just can't do it. Anyways,
That's fair.
Okay.
she is overrated.
I don't
Thoughts?
think so.
I don't think. Oh, no, I don't think overrated. I think she is genuinely making knitwear more popular in
yeah.
like kind of high fashion. Obviously, as knitters ourselves, we know that like the roving yarn she uses is not exactly made to last,
Yeah.
and that's not good. And her garments I mean, with any handmade garment, it's going to take a lot more care than the average like high fashion garment. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of her selling her own yarn. I was just watching
Me too,
Emma
yeah, I
Made
watched it
Moments
yesterday.
video, on the yarn, and I was like, oh, it really is not like she was selling like a huge skein of yarn for like, I don't know, it was like a ridiculous amount of yarn for I don't know. Just
It was
the only issue I have with her is the roving yarn. That's the only overrated part. Just, the fundamentals of her garment design. That's all I have an issue with.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
she's created like a really cool brand. And I think she's done a good job like marketing herself. And I think her designs are really pretty, but they're not like the most practical. And I've heard they're like really heavy.
Yeah.
The sweaters.
Yeah.
And yeah, after watching Emma's review about the wool, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
And I do think the hype it got really big and now it's like died down a bit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I agree. She's done a really great job branding herself, and one thing I really admire is how she has, like, she's not even charging like luxury prices. I think she's just charging like a fair amount for a piece of
Yeah.
nice knitwear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, with the exception of the whole bows thing, I think
Yeah.
that was kind of out of touch. You know what I mean? So I think in some ways like, I don't agree with like everything she's done, but I do really respect how she's like become very recognizable as like a knitwear designer, not just pattern designs like someone like Petite Knit, but you know, people were seen wearing her stuff all the time. But I am interested to see where she's gonna go, because I don't keep up with her very much. I could totally be wrong.
neither.
But I haven't seen her do something extremely different from what she got really famous for. So I'm interested to see like what her next big thing's gonna be, because obviously if she's done it once, she's gonna do it again. Like, she has really really pretty stuff. It's not something I would wear, but I think it's interesting and it's different, and that's what got her where she is. So I don't think she's overrated, but I agree with the qualms on the yarn, especially after watching Emma's video.
Yeah.
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 All right.
Fully agree. Our next hot take is that working with fluffy yarn is easier than working with normal yarn. No.
I disagree.
No.
Big time.
What?
Working with fluffy yarn is
I'm not
so
sure.
confusing.
Yeah. I also, fluffy yarn is a very vague term. I don't know if we're talking about like
The mohair?
chenille or like,
Chenille?
yeah. Depends on the yarn, but in general, it is not easier
No.
at all.
No. I think blanket yarn, when I've used it, was okay. It was fine, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's easier. But I've used like Bernay Pipsqueak, and you can't see the stitches at all. Like, I crocheted based off vibes alone. I'm not kidding. I couldn't see the stitches. I just guessed, and I was like, this is gonna have to be good enough. It was like a lot of counting to be like, I know I need like 18 in this round. Like, I better get 18. You know, you're just literally feeling. So I think some fluffy yarn is like much harder, if anything.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess if you're knitting, it's not too bad. But again, you still can't really see the stitches.
Yeah.
That is a
Disagree.
hot take. That's a really hot take.
That is a hot take.
Disagree.
Yeah. Sorry, but you're
Boo.
wrong.
Sorry.
Pattern testers deserve more than just a free pattern.
Repeat that.
Yeah.
Pattern testers deserve more than just a free pattern.
This could be a whole video for us.
Yeah.
This could be a whole podcast episode.
I think, to put it as succinctly as possible, if you want more than just a free pattern, then apply only to people who give you more than just a free pattern. Because I think the whole tester payment conversation that happened about a year-ish ago, I'd say, year and a half.
Yeah.
I don't entirely remember the timeline. While I do think it's valid, because I do think people should be compensated for their work, I don't think it should be expected. You know? I don't have all of my thoughts on that kind of like laid out to like be able to say what I want.
Yeah.
So I do understand what this person is saying, but for better or for worse, that's not the norm.
Yeah.
And if you think your work deserves more than a free pattern, which is so fair and valid, totally fair, your time and energy and all that is so worth it. Only apply to people who state that they'll give you more than that. But I don't think it's fair to say, you know, a designer has to give you more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we can't.
I don't make enough from pattern sales to be able to give more than the pattern that you're testing, and I tell my testers that they get if they would like another one of my patterns for free, they can like just let me know and I'll give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like
Yeah.
that's all I can afford because I don't make a lot of money from pattern sales.
Yeah. Like, we'd love to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But in this economy.
Yeah. I mean,
And it's, listen, if you, again, like Anna was saying, if you don't have the time or the resources to do that for free, then unfortunately, don't do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is if I really love a design,
Yeah.
I will test it for a person because it just means that I can help out another pattern designer and get a pattern for free that I was going to buy anyways. Like, I very intentionally apply for things that I will actually get use out of, knowing that I'm only going to get the free pattern, but that's okay because that's all I really wanted from it anyways if I was going to buy it.
Yeah. That's what I assume most people do.
Yeah.
I think introducing money into the equation also just makes the whole arrangement so much more complicated. Because then how much money are you giving each person? Are you giving plus size pattern testers more money because it's going to take them longer and they're going to, but then at the end of the day, they signed up to, and then just, I don't know. Like, I would also love to be able to pay people, but then when do you pay them? When the test is complete or before it started for the materials? And what if they don't finish the pattern test? And there's a lot that goes into it. And as someone who has had many pattern testers drop out along the way of testing, I don't know. I'm a bit disinclined to give people something at the start. Maybe that would have incentivized them to finish it more, but then they would also feel more guilty if life circumstances came up and like, do they pay you back? I don't know. I don't think any of my testers at least are like, wow, she didn't pay me for this. Like, this is the worst thing ever. Like, you signed up to do this.
Right.
Like, I can't. It's just kind of how it is. And that's how it is with other people whenever I test for them. I'm not like, oh my God, they need to pay me for this.
Yeah.
I want the pattern. I want to make it.
Yeah.
Why not just get it for free and do it right now?
Yeah. That's how I feel as well. And then there was for, like, you were saying, Savannah, how it gets, like, a little, like, confusing, like, how the process would go. It made me think, and maybe this is taking it a step too far, and I'm thinking, like, bigger than what it would actually be. But as of right now in my life, like, I'm doing art, fiber arts, and illustration full time.
Yeah.
So if I were to pay people to test for me if I have like a new design, would I, because this is my job and I'm paying taxes for this to be like, I'm like, you get it, would I need to like contract these people? Would they be like freelancing for me? Because I also on the side do freelancing for a company in the field that I would like to go in, and I'm like, it's a contract, it's like set payment, it's whatever. So would I need to, because I'm like, this is going in my expenses, I'm paying people, would it need to be, and like, maybe once again that's too far because you have like a certain amount of money that you can make before you have to like pay tax for it, you know what I mean? And I get that for the testers, but for me, would it be different? I don't know the answer to any of that, but that's another thing that makes it a little more complicated than, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. That was a good one, though. I think that's an important conversation to have, and we really could make a whole episode on, like, the ethics of pattern testing and stuff, but...
Yeah.
Okay. Next one. This one's so interesting. Granny square blankets are not it. I love a granny square blankie.
I love them.
An asterisk where I agree in some instances. Whenever it's like one huge granny square, not a fan.
Fair.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe it's
love
just because I look at
those.
that and I'm like, yeah, the idea of working that sounds like my personal hell. But the little patchwork ones, so cute.
They're super cute.
Love those.
Yeah, like I would like to make a granny square blanket. Would I like to weave in all those ends? No.
True. That's so true. I don't mind the look of like one huge granny square as a blanket. Is it my favorite? No. Do I hate it? No. But I do prefer like the smaller granny squares sewn together. I think that's really cute.
Yeah.
I do think
It
it's really
is very
cute.
cute.
Yeah.
It isn't very practical as a blanket, like as the stitch. But hey, who needs that?
Yeah, we're not thinking about that.
No,
Warmth? No.
no.
Pretty? Yes.
Yes.
That's what's important. Yeah.
It is.
That was an easy one.
Yeah.
This is I don't think this is a hot take that it's okay for patterns to cost money.
Yeah. Contrary
Yeah.
contrary to a lot of people on TikTok's belief,
Yeah.
you can
But they're all like 12 years
you
old,
will
you know?
survive if you pay $5 for a pattern and support an artist. Babe,
And
you
if
just
you don't want to,
you don't have to. You don't have to at all. None of us are making you. But if you just think about this, just to plant a little seed. If you so easily spent $30, $40, $50 at Michael's or Joann, money that goes to a big faceless corporation that already has billions of dollars, you can give me, someone who is a small artist who doesn't make enough to live on her own, you can give me $5 if you want my pattern. Sorry.
yeah, like it took time, a lot of time to make it.
Yep.
Things cost money. It sucks, but it's true.
And also, there are so many gorgeous free patterns out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just because you want the one thing I've made that I charge for doesn't mean you can't get something similar that someone else has made for free.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. They can cost money. It's work. Work went into it.
Yeah.
People should be paid for their work.
Yes.
Anyways, moving on.
Anyways.
Everyone needs to chill about their basic designs being stolen.
Again, we could make a whole video about this. I feel like it's less prominent in the online fiber arts community lately, like everyone talking about their designs being stolen. I don't know. I think I just don't know any like prominent examples lately
Red Yarn
but
Gate.
of
basic.
people.
What'd you say?
Yeah.
Red Yarn Gate.
Yeah.
I
Red
think
text on sweater.
I agree with Savannah. We can make a whole video about this. And similar to one of the other hot takes, I don't remember which one. I have thoughts and opinions, but I don't have them like organized to like succinctly say what I want. But my number one thing is I just think people are so deep into having an individuality complex that they think that they're the only person who's ever thought of something, which is super not true. And that doesn't mean that if someone does genuinely rip off your very unique design, that is very valid and that's a different conversation. But like if someone makes a jasmine stitch purse, I'm not gonna sue them for taking the oopsie daisy purse pattern. It's a stitch.
Yeah.
It's different. So I do think that there are valid complaints, but I do think that there are times where it's like I'd knit that for an example. Like she used red text on a white sweater and she always
There's
uses
only so many ways.
She always uses text on her sweaters. There's only so many ways that you can use it. It's like, yes, it's a unique design, but at the end of the day, it's not inherently new, you know?
Yeah.
There are like no new ideas. Like
Yeah.
everything that you're thinking of, it's been done before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Granted, you can think about that yourself. Like, obviously, we all come up with our own original designs, but we're not claiming that we're the first people to do these things. Like, there are only so many ways to make a fucking cardigan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, you're not the first. I'm not pulling this from any specific example. Like, I have a cardigan. I'm not claiming I invented a cardigan. If I see one that's similar, great. It's a cardigan. It literally is so
Not
simple.
the end of the world. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Like, yeah. So if you're upset about somebody making a very basic and widespread like design that's similar to yours, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
There are only so many things.
Yeah.
That is an interesting thing to like look into though. You know, as like a whole. Just the idea of like people I really think it's people so badly wanting to have a new idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is fair.
I get it.
Yeah.
All the time I'm searching
Yeah.
for like my best new idea. And in my head for
Yeah.
at least a little bit of time I think I'm the only person who's done it.
I'm
I
always
get
scared
it.
that like I'm gonna come up with something and then somebody's gonna be like, you copied that person because they did it first. And like I would
Yeah.
never ever intentionally like copy someone and claim something as my own.
Yeah.
So I'm like always in school, I was always scared I would accidentally plagiarize something. That I would like accidentally write the same sentence, and I would send it in to turn it in, and they'd be like, "You copied."
Oh my god. Yeah.
I totally get that.
And again, it's transferred into like my adult life. Like I'm scared that I'm gonna come up with something and make it, and like I'd not knowingly seen it, and then that's where I got the idea from, and then claim it as my own, and then someone's like, "That's not yours," but I think it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's complicated.
I get that. I think that's also, or I guess I shouldn't say I think, I wonder if those feelings that you have in the fiber arts world, because I also have similar feelings, are amplified because there are an increasing amount of people, not even like a lot of people, but when it happens on a large scale, who get very frustrated. You know what I mean? It's like, it wouldn't be like a small thing. It would be like you took this from me and I'm going to post a TikTok about it. It's become very large all the time, which definitely makes me more anxious. I never want to make someone feel like I've taken something from them.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's nuanced.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
a little...
We're getting close to the end. Okay, this one's a good one though. Not everyone needs to turn their crochet or knitting hobby into a business.
Again, an entire episode can be done about this.
Yes.
Fully agree. I think people just
agree.
go wrong whenever they start crocheting and a month later they call themselves the CEO of a new brand. That's the only time I really have an issue with it.
That's fair. Sure.
Yeah.
I
I think if you... Anna, go first.
Okay. I was just going to say, I agree. And I think it can also change over time. I have, like I mentioned before, I'm doing this full time currently, but I'm extremely not looking to do it full time for the rest of my life.
Forever.
I'm actively looking for
Yeah.
other jobs because
Yeah.
as much as I absolutely adore it, and I am so beyond grateful to have any sort of platform that allows me to make any sort of money, whether it's enough to be able to sustain living by myself or not, or it's whatever. Like I personally have changed, and I don't want it to be my full-time job anymore. You know, I think it's made it less fun for me.
Yeah.
So I would expect
That's fair.
other people to feel similarly, or to feel the opposite, where it's like they have a job in an office and they're like, well, you know what? I think I can make this my full-time job and it would make me happy.
Yeah.
But I don't think you should automatically try to monetize your hobbies.
Monetize.
You're
Yeah,
allowed to
I think
just
if
do
you're-
things for fun.
No. I think if you just started crocheting and you make your first thing, and to be fair, the culture on like TikTok and Instagram, people constantly demanding patterns can really warp people's views of what we're talking about. Like they're like, oh, people want a pattern, I should write a pattern. But I don't think if you've just learned to crochet and you've never read a crochet pattern, you should necessarily be writing one. But again,
Yeah.
I'm not the boss of anyone. That's just like my opinion. Like that's what I saw for myself. Like I started and a year into crocheting, that's when I wrote my first pattern.
Yeah. Same.
I kind of wonder, and this is, once again, merely just a thought, my opinion means nothing. But I kind of wonder if some people's disdain towards purchasing patterns, and I do think it's a select few, and I think it's mainly on TikTok. I do think it's really over there because how fast it is. I wonder if people's frustration with paid patterns, their frustrations spending money on a pattern that is not what they were expecting, is linked to those same people or similar people commenting, asking for a pattern from someone who wasn't initially going to write one. And so they just haven't had enough time to maybe make it the pattern that they wanted, or to, you know, read other people's patterns to know what they, etc. You know, they haven't had time to learn.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
my first pattern is probably nowhere near where I'd want it to be now, you know, and I think that's totally fair, but I kind of wonder if there's a tie between,
Yeah.
like, not wanting to purchase a pattern and, you know, patterns that come out very quickly because people want the pattern immediately and the designer feels obligated to give it to them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's interesting. I haven't thought about that before.
I like looking at the relationships between things like that.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
Wow, you're
I'm
a mastermind.
literally so smart.
Literally graduated university.
Literally.
It's whatever.
So our last one, which is it's not even a hot take, I think it's fair, is I don't like test knitting for people who don't reply to questions. Ooh!
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna if you're gonna run a test knit, I feel like you have to be very organized. It can be so confusing. I certainly I will not be the one to say I am the best at running a test. I probably am not. I at times can be very disorganized. But yeah, if someone's gonna give you the time to, you know, test something for you, you should probably be on top of answering their questions.
Also, it's like that's the point a little bit of the test.
Yeah.
Is to see where problems are in the pattern so that you can fix it to make it as clear as possible.
I agree.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I've
also,
just had
but the other side is like sometimes people are busy and like working.
Yeah, sometimes you're a real life human person.
Or sleeping. But
yeah. If it's like a couple hours, like give them grace, like my lord. Or even like on the weekend or something. Like we do have actual lives, but when it gets to like a couple days and up, which I have experienced before, and like multiple people are asking questions and you can see they're online sometimes and they just aren't responding.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this isn't really going too great for anyone. But yeah.
Yeah. It's tough, but if they're like, I guess posting and whatever, posting like normal, they should be able to reply to a question. But also like, if it's like sometimes I'll work on something at like 10 p.m. I actively don't want the person to respond to me because I want them to be like relaxing, you know, not always looking at their phone or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think you need to have grace, but also like the designer should be on top of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think that wraps it up for our hot takes. We're running out of time.
Yeah, those were phenomenal hot takes.
Very good. Yeah. I'm like I haven't heard like half of this before. Yeah. Congrats everyone.
Good job, guys.
Collective efforts.
And if you guys want to hear us elaborate on anything that we talked about, please let us know because I know for a lot of these, like it kind of jutted off, whatever, into different conversations. That we probably could talk about for a whole 50 minutes. So
yes.
Yeah.
Very easily.
Yes.
To wrap it up, as per usual, what are you watching, listening, reading?
A lot of YouTube.
Yeah.
I've been a big YouTube
Mike's new video.
Yes.
Watched it. Yeah.
I did, to bring it back from last episode, I did finish Icebreaker. And Savannah and I can remain friends because I also hated it. The friend that I was co-reading it with literally was texting me like, I cannot finish these left. I won't spoil it, but the epilogue, I read 2 words.
Terrible.
2 words.
Terrible.
And I was like, you're joking. I got through the whole book for that. I was so mad. I gave it 2 stars on Goodread just because there were parts that I found to be alright. And I liked the idea of the book. I just didn't like the way that it was written. It could have been 200 pages less and the same story would have happened. Like, you know what I mean?
Why did you give it 2 stars?
Why?
I liked the idea of the book. I just didn't like the book at all, so 2 stars.
If I like the concept enough to pick it up, I'm gonna give it something.
Such a hater.
1 star?
Such a hater.
I save my 1 star, girl. I have to hate something. I'm pretty generous, I guess. I'll give.
Oh my god.
I'll give people the benefit of the doubt.
I've been listening to my day list on Spotify.
Ooh.
Slay. Do you guys both have Spotify?
Yes.
Anna does. I know that for sure.
Yeah, I do.
If you search day list, it's like there's like a morning,
I know what you're talking about.
A nighttime one, and it's like it changes all the time.
Yes.
And it's pretty good.
I had
Pretty
that.
good.
That sounds so cute.
I had that a couple months or a year ago, and I think it may have been like the beta for it because I think it went away. But I loved it. I'm like, yes, I
It's
do
pretty
want to
good.
listen to musical theater in the afternoon. How'd you know?
I know. I got such a weird one this morning. It was like, I screenshotted it. Hold on. I didn't screenshot it, so never mind.
All right. Well,
Okay,
you can
cheers.
find it and then text
Well, no, I
us.
can't because it changes.
Well, it's fine. Maybe it'll appear another day. Share another one with us.
Okay,
It's
fine. Whatever. Anyways, thanks for listening.
Whatever. I'm listening to Guts as per usual.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Love it. She gets me. She
She
gets
gets
me.
me so hard.
I love her. I love Olivia Rodrigo so
Yes.
much. I'm still reading the same book I was last time. I haven't made any progress on it because I've started like 5 different ones because I don't want to read that one. Yeah, I'm still like on page 60 of 1,000 because I know I'm not gonna like it.
Sick. Loving that for you.
Sick. Yeah,
All right.
but yeah,
Should we wrap it up?
Yeah.
we should.
Okay.
Who wants to lead us out?
I'll do it. Why not?
Okay.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of the Crochet Authority. If you liked it, which we know you did, make sure to rate it 5 stars, please. It helps us out literally so much. That's how other hot crocheters can see us, so please do that. And if you feel so inclined, give us a review, and make sure it's obviously really good wherever you can. Also, make sure to stay up to date with us on Instagram and TikTok. We're even hotter and sexier over there, if you can believe. And follow our personal accounts because we're perfect. Did I say that correctly? I'm going to assume that I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I didn't know if I just messed up my words, and that would have been so embarrassing.